Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli, David Mendelson, as we talk about the wide world of sports. Couple Flyer baseball moves and signings. Justin Verlander, Inner Circle Hall of Famer, 3 Cy Youngs. He is with your San Francisco Giants as they round into form their offseason. Talk about that. I did get a good chuckle. I clicked on an article that was grading trades, and it's funny how they landed on their answers. The Gavin Lux trade was bizarre. I kind of want to see if I have more thoughts on that. I'm not sure yet. We'll mention Michael Lorenzen. I don't know. He's an arm that'll get used. We will not talk about Drew Rasmussen's extension. Rules are rules. Because there's also a football mecca of sorts. Wild card weekend, the football semifinals. As we all get through the next couple days, if you're a Cali person, I feel bad. I don't want to say I was being goofy on talking baseball. I was being a little goofy. I'm always a little goofy. But the Fires are like, yo. Like, remember forever Fires. I think one of our investor guys, his house is like,
whoa.
Yeah. So, scary. So if you know anyone out there, definitely you probably checked in, but check in. It's pretty wild. And if you're someone looking to get away for a little bit, that's kind of more my lane, and that's what we'll be doing here for a little bit. So let's hit the baseball high and tight because, again, it's a legendary football wins this weekend, unless Bregman signs. Justin Verlander signs with the San Francisco Giants for 1 year, $15 million. What I was laughing at seconds ago. I clicked on ESPN's article. I don't know. I just like to do a peruse of ESPN and The Athletic before we get cruising just to make sure I haven't missed anything. And I was laughing because this is Bradford Doolittle and David Schoenfield working together, Kelly Collabo. And they gave grades to the Giants, to Justin Verlander, and the Tigers, who weren't involved in the transaction. They gave the Giants an A, they gave Verlander a C, and they gave the Tigers an F, which I didn't even know. I didn't even know how connected we were there. Couple things. Let's check off some baseball layups. No such thing as a bad 1 year deal. I would counter that. If it's a bad 1 year deal, that's kind of your answer. And man, Justin Verlander, who's got one of the prettier baseball references you will find for a pitcher, he's coming off his worst season. It is interesting. He got an injury. Before that injury, he was pitching pretty decently. So if he comes in healthy, I think you can expect him to kind of be the mid to low threes ERA pitcher he's been the past couple years. Could changing leagues help him? Could San Francisco's ballpark help him in some of their defense? Maybe. I think it's mostly going to come down to if the 42-year-old on February 20th, how healthy he is. That being said, the 1 year contract thing, for a pitcher that could be Justin Verlander, I think you like it. Even if it's just the old Bulls at spring training and we get stories about Logan Webb learned this from Justin Verlander and Keaton Winn added some zip to his fastball from Verlander. Not exactly how it works. I mean, you get one of the most experienced pitchers all time, one of the best pitchers of the last 20 years. I was just laughing. I saw, I think it was BR who did a post of all the leaders since in the 2000s. It's an interesting way to look at things. Pujols has a lot. Juan Pierre is your steals king in the 2000s. And then it's like Scherzer, Verlander. There's a couple other oddballs in there that was fun. Mike Trout, OPS, people forget about him. If they can tap into something from Justin Verlander, hell, even 2023, he was 27 starts with a 3.22. He was actually a little slightly worse in Houston. Mets Justin Verlander was 16 starts to a 3.15. And I remember that whole thing being like, it didn't feel clean. Like it didn't, like, right?
Just felt like nothing.
Right? Like it didn't feel like Verlander was doing good.
And he missed time to an injury while with the Mets.
So he's a year removed from 27 starts, 162 innings, a 3.22 ERA. So if you get that for 1 year, $15 million, absolutely. Last year, more recently, it landed at 17 starts, a 5.48, 90 innings pitched. Some of the numbers down. Again, he was good to start, got hurt, and it came down. No jokes to be made here. His high school is Goochland High School in Virginia. So, Old Dominion, same as Vinny Pasquantino, I believe. One of the great games you always play is what are you asking for Justin Verlander? If the San Francisco Giants are asking Justin Verlander to be there 2 next year, I'd be a little concerned. Technically, and again, I think this could get shimmied and shook, they have him slotted in the back end of their rotation. They have Logan Webb, as stable as a pitcher as you can get. Robbie Ray, who only had 7 starts last year, but again, he should be more built up and be more than those 7 starts at least. Jordan Hicks, who made 20 starts last year, 109 innings pitched. Hopefully he can jump up to maybe like the 130 range. Kyle Harrison, the young lefty, was kind of hunting in a lot of his starts. He either had it or he didn't. And then Justin Verlander. And so you have some depth pieces between Tristan Beck, Keaton Wynn, as I mentioned. Hayden, Show Me Your Bird Song, Landon Roop. There could be BBD. I'll ask you a question if you don't mind.
Please.
Who was the biggest piece the Yankees traded to get Juan Soto, former Yankee?
Michael King.
Where did Michael King learn his curveball from?
Corey Kluber.
So, Corey Kluber, brief stint with the Yanks. There can be ripple effects of bringing in an all-time great pitcher that I hope Giants fans are telling those stories in a couple years or even this year. And they might get something out of him. So you have to, if you're a Giants fan, like the A in the article said, I really like this for him. I wonder what else of a market was for them. Apparently the Tigers got an F out of this one if he was willing to sign there. The other thing with him and Scherzer, what do they want to do? Justin Verlander has made $400 million playing baseball. He was going to go wherever he wanted. If someone offered him $14 million, I think he would have been fine with that to go to another team. He apparently is kind of into San Francisco. Is there a Buster Posey effect? Haven't seen that article yet. Does he believe in what's going on? Does he like pitching at a pitcher's ballpark? Could that help him out? We will see. The NL West is becoming daunting, and the San Diego story continues to feel like it's getting sad, although they still have a lot of talent on that roster, but the Giants and D-backs are continuing to kind of build their teams out. The NL West is going to be a bloodbath of sorts, and you have to think, of the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Giants, one of those teams is going to have a tough year next year, and I don't know who it is. I'd have to see everything on paper. You'd still think the Padres are going to do something because they have been silent. Maybe not because they're suing each other for ownership of the team. The Padres won 93 games last year and were up 2-1 on the Dodgers. And we're on path to win the World Series. So I know they've lost pieces, and it's really hard to compare the Padres and the Giants right now. The Giants lost Snell and Conforto. Okay, significant. They've added Willy Adames, and they've now added Justin Verlander. That Snell loss is significant. I mean, I think it's 11 starts down the stretch. They were incredible. And he goes over to the Dodgers. Jung-Hoo Lee will be back, so that's something that helps them. This is always my thing with the Giants. It feels like they've got room for one more hitter. And it's, are they willing to do that? Because right now their bench is a little thin. Their DH is listed as Wilmer Flores. So could they be in the business of anyone? Whether you want to go medium and do a JD Martinez, a flyer on someone, or JD turned them down last year, right? Because
he didn't think the ballpark was good for him.
So maybe a bad example there.
Maybe he still doesn't.
Santander's still out there for a couple teams. Again, if you're looking for a DH. So if the Giants get themselves another hitter, I think I could actually talk myself into it. We will see if they do that because they don't necessarily need to. They've got a lot of talented guys. Ramos had a really good rookie year. Fitzgerald did too, but nobody knows what to do with that in that sample size. Matt Chapman locked up. Lamont Wade only gets on base. And Willie Adames was a big signing, 180-something mil. So they could, in theory, be done. I would like to see them add one more hitter. Here's what I'll say about the Giants. Coming into the past few seasons, we've said the same things, and this team isn't that far away from those same things, I would say. But it feels a little more entertaining. Willie Adames, Matt Chapman was good for them. Justin Verlander starts. Logan Webb healthy for like a full year. They've got a rotation that each guy has upside. It's just what's going to click and what's not going to click in a year. And with that tough division and hopefully some bounce back in their bullpen, they can be a tough team. But I still think when you look at that Giants lineup on paper compared to a lot of the plus lineups around the league, it gets a little daunting. I kind of want to check out this article, why they gave the Tigers. Because that was my pick when we did the free agency draft. I was like, go back to Detroit, do this all again. So I'm just wondering if they had any rumors or anything, or if they're just like, couldn't the Tigers at least offer this? So I don't know. I think another fun game, Beaverton, and let me know if I'm missing anyone. There's been at least 3 old starting pitchers that have signed 1 year, $15 million.
Ooh, I think so.
Let me see. We've got Charlie Morton, just happened to Baltimore. Justin Verlander to the San Francisco Giants. Alex Cobb to Detroit, so maybe that's what my article friends were being not happy about. Sugano's $13 million for Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what that is. Boyd is $14.5 for 2 years. So that's really that's something. Max Scherzer's still out there, by the way. I don't know. It's going to be funny to look at that handful of guys that you could have had for the same price at the end of the year, because I bet 2 of them are good. I bet 2 of them aren't. Welcome to baseball. Welcome to analytics. So that's that, and it's exciting. He's still Justin Verlander, famous wife, all-time pitcher, could be good. I'm about it. That's fun baseball stuff. The one I don't really know where to lead you guys. My Cincinnati Reds have thrown a wrench in the equation as Gavin Lux gets traded to the Reds after they traded Jonathan India, and everyone was like, oh, they finally cleared up that infield. Gavin Lux is in town. They traded 2 prospects for him. 1 prospect and a draft pick. I did think it was funny, and this is just dumb Jake stuff, but Mike Sirota is the outfield prospect. Northeast guy, by the way. The Dodgers drafted him out of high school, and he said no. Got drafted by the Reds, and I think the 3rd round. Still hasn't played pro ball. I don't know if he was injured or something.
Oh.
I don't know what that is. But then the Dodgers traded for him. So how bad did the Dodgers want Mike Sirota? You know? And if I'm Mike Sirota, that's a good thing. I got drafted for, turned them down, and then they traded for me.
They want him.
I'm interested to see the follow-up on Mike Sirota and that competitive balance pick. But most importantly, we know Gavin Lux, who got traded, a 2-time World Series champ. Gavin Lux, that's a pretty big flex. Coming off a 2-WAR season with a massive second half, a pretty, I can say it, it was a bad first half.
But it's pretty easy to talk yourself into, like, miss the previous year ACL, literally getting his legs under him, and they got under him.
In the second half, 61 games, 304 batting average, a 391 on base, a 508 slug, so he almost 3-4-5'd for 61 games to bring the season home. That being said, 78 games in the first half, 213 batting average, 267 on base, 562. BBD mentioned the injuries. Also, the whole shortstop, who's playing where, like that was a little messy. I know in our heads that doesn't matter. Like set the lineup, go hit, play defense. I've seen shortstop mess with a lot of players' heads by this point.
And I guess at 27, it's somewhat of a full, like, all right, you don't face lefties anymore, like a little bit.
Yeah, that's tough.
Heads made there.
Because that's also a little Dodger syndrome.
Like same thing happened to Jock way back when.
Right, like, and it's opportunity based, and at a certain point you're a certain age. That I wonder if that's what the Reds are thinking. We'll get to that in a second. What do we have Gavin Lux getting paid this year?
I believe, and I think around this time tomorrow we'll have like some official numbers on some ARB year guys, but the estimates are under $3 million.
I was gonna say because he made 1.2 last year, so and it kind of makes sense. Like he never had the gangbuster year that really multiplies.
Yeah, and losing a full season to an injury.
Right. So the two data points we do have: a 24-year-old Gavin Lux had a 3-WAR season in 129 games, 276, 346, 745 OPS. And last year I told you, I mean, they ended up nearly even, but that big second half can make you dream upon, if you're trading for Gavin Lux, 2 years of hopefully pushing 800 OPS type production. He hasn't done it yet, so you don't want to put that out there too much. And changing divisions, you're seeing less similar pitchers. And if you believe in lineup support and all that stuff, Dodgers to the Reds, but the Reds play in one of the best hitters parks, that I think you can dream on Gavin Lux being in his prime, hopefully being recovered from a leg injury, being a pretty decent contributor. But where? Because our Reds, who we applauded for getting Brady Singer for Jonathan India, they currently have Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. Let's lock that in, Janiel. It's a reference for BBD and a couple other people. What show was that?
Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. So some people are going to be really into that drop, and some people are like, why have you wasted 20 more seconds on this?
We'll like that joke. That's why you do it, and that's why you're subscribing right now. Almost 25K. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
I'm going to lock in Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. I think I'm going to lock in Matt McClain at second, unless he's a piece of trade meat that we'll circle back on a second. But let's do this. If they are on the Reds, Ellie's at short, Matt McClain's at second. That's kind of the end of the conversation there. Is it? Because I just remembered Gavin Lux is where this whole conversation is around. Then we have Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's kind of a first baseman.
Yeah.
Spencer Steer I'll throw in here. He plays everywhere. They have him currently listed as the left fielder. Gavin Lux, Jamer Candelario. And this is going to be a bad reference because it's not referencing anything, so I don't know why I teed it up like this. If Santiago Espinal is on your team, he's going to play. It's just a developing theory. It's kind of the IKF effect. Like, they're versatile enough and they're not bad enough that if they're on your team, they're going to play 81 games. Minimum. How many did he play last year? Let me walk all over myself.
391 plate appearances.
118 games.
Yep.
So the past 4 years, Santiago Espinal has played 92-plus games. He plays solid defense, he plays positions, and he has like a slappy bat. Wow, his numbers are so IKF. 266, 321, 685 OPS. Whoa. I might have to put out that's going to be mean. I was going to say I need to put a warning to teams. If you have this guy on your team, they're going to play a lot. Which I don't know if that's good. Anyways, sorry for the Santiago Espinal slander. That is before mentioning the guy that was supposed to be like the future of the Reds, Noelvi Marte. He was the big piece they got for Luis Castillo. Kind of a, I don't want to say super prospect, but of sorts. was good, popped for PEDs, came back midseason, was not good, but you have to think they're not over him after, a 242 bad plate appearances at the end of last season, that he has to be very much in the mix. I didn't mention, but this should be tied in, Will Benson, who played a lot for them last year. The numbers weren't off the charts, but 14 homers, 16 stolen bases. He's 26. That's a baseball player. So the Cincinnati Reds are back to having a lot of position players, which that's a good thing. I think what's scary to me is after Elly De La Cruz, who hit 25 homers last year, I believe, and has a chance to fully break out and kind of have, he kind of did break out. He had 5 WAR last year, but we could be talking about if his numbers pick up across the board, you're talking about 7, 8, 9 WAR type of guy. So let's see what happens with Elly. BBD, if you had to place a bet on, not a DraftKings read, but double, who's going to have the second most home runs on the Cincinnati Reds next year? You would pick...
God.
Right?
Jake Fraley.
So, for a team that I just mentioned has a lot of depth, and we've got...
Not Jake Fraley.
We've got 6 infielders, 6 outfielders. You can't lock in another guy for 20 homers. 20, which in today's baseball, 20's... If you're an average power hitter playing a full season
every day,
you're hitting 20 homers.
I think Friedel was what I was trying to say for the Reds people yelling.
They have one of the best hitters parks in baseball. So maybe that can be your spin zone, that you're going to get plus production from one of these guys. For me, the scent is this should be a move that leads to another move. I like Gavin Lux as a ball player. Like I said, you could get 2 years at $3 million and $6 million, where he gives you 2-3 WAR seasons. That's a massive win. And maybe the Reds are just thinking, hey, last year we had a lot. It always felt like we had 2 or 3 holes, and it just never felt cohesive. That maybe if we have this extra depth, and Jamer has another bad year, or one of the young guys has a down year, or somebody gets hurt, that we can plug them and hopefully the wheel keeps on turning. I'm okay with that thought process. But it feels a step off, and I wonder if there's a trade for a hitter. I wonder if they have the money to sign for a hitter. My knee-jerk reaction was like a Dylan Cease trade, to have an actual whoa, the Cincinnati Reds pitch, because I, who have been brainwashed by myself into becoming a Cincinnati Reds fan because I liked all their young hitters so much. Funny how much a year can change things. I like their pitching more than their hitting. Hunter Green breakout happened. I keep reminding people this. 26 starts at 275. Brady Singer, wherever you stand on him, he had a solid year last year, 3.71. Andrew Abbott, 3.72. Nick Martinez, qualifying offer, 3.1 ERA last year. And Nick Lodolo had 2.1 WAR. Shut up, Jake. A talented young pitcher. And that is before we get to Rhett Lauder, who was a top pick, who 30 innings from Rhett Lauder last year, a 1.17 ERA. And they have a couple other young arms they like. So, in theory, the Cincinnati Reds could be done. They have some rotation depth. I don't hate their bullpen. They got some lefties and righties with Alexis Diaz on the back end. And it's okay, so maybe they just want depth in their lineup. Terry Francona's the manager, you may have forgotten. And he's just going to press all the right buttons and go Cincy go. I'd like to think there's another move, and I think it could be for a pitcher. And if it's Dylan Cease for 1 or 2 young players, I think that's a win, looking at Dylan Cease, Hunter Green. And then if Singer, Abbott, Martinez, Lodolo, one of them clicks, you have a good rotation in Cincinnati, which I feel like we haven't said that. Was anyone else with Bauer? Who was on that Reds team? Was Sonny there?
Sonny was there. Luis Castillo was there. I don't know how broken out he was, but talent-wise.
Definitely. That 2020 Reds team, I got to tell Jolly to do that as a video. Yeah, man. Bauer, Castillo, Gray, Tyler Mahle, DeScalfani, and Wade Miley. Okay. Easy on that.
Those four all had legit.
Raisel Iglesias, Michael Lorenzen, TJ Antone, Archie Bradley, Brooks Raley. What? Jesse Biddle? What year is this? Are there two Jesse Biddles?
Pedro Strop on the team.
Wasn't there a Rocky Biddle was the old Expos reliever, and he got rocked. Why do I know his name? Minus 3.2 career WAR. Anyways, I'd like to think there's another move for the Reds going. I'd like to think it's in any direction. If this was a video game and the Reds had a little bit of money, could you somehow get Dylan Cease and then sign Peter Santander or something? Then, you'd look at the Reds and be like, wait, is this a good team? Because the other thing that happened earlier, I was on the Reds and I was giving myself my normal Reds hype speech. Here we go. Let's go Reds. I clicked over to the Royals, and I like the Royals roster better than the Reds. And I think it's on, every front. I believe in the Royal Star a little more. Bobby Witt Jr., he showed that last year. Even India, Witt, Pasquantino, Salvi, maybe I'm a little too biased to Michael Massey, but I like what's going on up there. You could argue the Reds have better depth, sure. But kind of the star and the meat of the lineup, I like that more for KC. Reagan's, Lugo, Waka, now Lorenzen. And then however they want to finish it, Bubich, March. Will Kyle Wright ever return? I don't know. Any young pitchers I know? Not really. But also the bullpen, man. Ursig, Harvey, Schreiber. And then they've got all those lefties. Zerpa, Lynch, Long, Chris Stratton. That it's kind of okay, the Royals. Where do I officially land on the Royals? They made the playoffs last year. The team has some juice. They have a star. It was an 86-win team. Do I think they necessarily got better? I don't know. I think that kind of depends on India, Pasquantino, Salvi. Michael Massey breakout alert. I kind of like the Royals more than the Reds, which I got to be honest, for the Reds, that's a bad sign. I hope the Royals run it back next year. But the Royals, they were second in starting pitching ERA. That's really good. The Reds last year, oh my God, I accidentally just clicked on a booze ad. How do I get out of here? What is this?
What is this, Reggie?
What is this? Is that whiskey? They got me. Well done. Now I'm buying it. I'm drinking it. My Cincinnati Reds that I continue to try to talk myself into. In a weak division, they won 77 games last year. 21st in OPS, 16th in starting pitching ERA, 18th in reliever ERA. Give me a little bit of an identity somewhere. And maybe Jose Trevino helps steal some pitches for them, and that can help their pitching staff. I'd like, if they could give me one more move in either direction, I can dream better.
A new, doesn't necessarily have to be best, but a new most reliable hitter or pitcher.
Something I can
with
bank
a
on,
big
yes.
ceiling.
I would love a hitter that looks like 25 plus homers, ideally 30. Today's baseball, or I'd love a starting pitcher that I could look at and say, well, you're gonna hopefully get 30 starts at a 3.5 ERA. And I guess the part that surprised me when I originally did this, because again, knee-jerk reaction, posted on social media, I was like, Dylan Cease, Reds, that's an identity, pitch a little bit. I kind of now believe in the Reds' pitching upside more than their hitting. That, I don't know. Hopefully I'm missing something. The Reds have great American ballpark. Maybe that's where my head is at. Go get Dylan Cease, and you'll figure out hitting. But Reds, I need one more move to make sense of it. Meanwhile, watch out for whatever Mike Sirota, and whoever the Dodgers pick with that pick. That's a little bit of the baseball update for now. We will see, again, whatever shoe drops next. There's been no real Santander rumors. Pete's kind of in a bad spot, it feels like. Bregman, it still feels like he's in a good spot.
It'll ultimately seem like Bregman's going to land where he wanted
There's a lot of teams you can be like, Bregman. Red Sox, Mets, Nats, I have to feel like our team. Everyone wants the Tigers that we've done. Pete, that whole first base wheel happened, carousel. But I don't know. I'm starting to think he's going to fall more into like a Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, 3-year with opt-out. So if you have a 40-homer year in the next 2 years, you'll get another big deal. But I don't know. It's entered a weird spot with Pete, and I didn't think it would. I thought a team would talk themselves into that. Reds, Diamondbacks. Who's going to come out of the woodwork for Pete? Yankees? No. Kombucha girl gift. Again, a joke for a couple people. Let's talk a little football, because I told you this is kind of the big one. College football, if you're not into it, I think this should be your weekend. We are down to, oh God, I was going to make a joke about one of the bad bowl games. It had South Alabama, Western Michigan, but that was December 14th. So if you're looking forward to that game, it's not happening. No, there are 3 college football games left. Notre Dame at Penn State. Okay. Some traditional northern colleges mixing it up. The Golden Domers have become, I don't know, kind of Yankee-ish, right? Like Notre Dame used to be college football's brand. They haven't really won the big one in a while. People said last week against Georgia was the biggest game they've won in a long time. They play a fun brand of football. They want to run the ball. They've got a veteran quarterback, Riley Leonard, who's going to make plays. Not a ton through the air last week, but they didn't need a ton through the air. But their run game is really fun. Love and Price normally doing a lot of the work, although Riley Leonard did a lot of the work last week as they beat a Georgia team with basically just a good end to the half. Penn State had been kind of they'd been a punching bag of college football for a little bit because another program that kind of landed top 10, they won every game they were supposed to win. They lost every game they were supposed to lose. So it's kind of like, well, what are you? You're clearly not the elite. You're not bad, but how do we treat you? They beat SMU and Boise State, so even reading that off makes me a little timid, but they won both those games dominantly, which you like to see. They do have one of the best quarterbacks remaining in this whole dance. Drew Aller has elevated his stock. He had 3 touchdown passes against Boise, no interceptions. Allen and Singleton are their 2 go-to running backs. Singleton's a beast, and it's funny, Allen actually outplayed him last game against Boise. And if you're in the NFL world and you're just waiting to get to the next part of this conversation, they have a tight end, Tyler Warren, who is just massive. There's been a couple times they just give him the ball in the backfield because he's that good that it's just like, hey, figure it out, dude. We don't know how to get you the ball right now, so go. 2 touchdowns receiving against Boise State. And just, some college players look different on the field. He is one of them. That'll be fun to see him on that stage. And I'd have to assume he's going to be a first-round pick, and he is just massive. I think there's going to be Gronk comparisons come the draft, and if he has a big game, watch out. That's going to be fun to see those 2 teams. One of them is going back to the national championship. Notre Dame did that a few years ago, but they got absolutely rolled by Alabama. Like, they just didn't have a chance at that. It was like Alabama's peak, and it was like Notre Dame wiggled in, and it was a bad time. This will be a fun game. Notre Dame is the favorite. I was just talking myself by 1.5 points, so it's pretty tight. I was just telling myself, like, ooh, Penn State, they've got a quarterback. Notre Dame hasn't seen that. But Notre Dame just beat Georgia, who they've got, Georgia compared to Boise State and SMU is a different product on each line. That this game is being played tomorrow night. So again, I mentioned this is an explosive football weekend. Tomorrow night at the Orange Bowl, Fighting Irish, Nittany Lions. Gun to my head. Why does he always do that? I guess I like Notre Dame. They just took out Georgia. They're feeling good about themselves. They kind of know who they are. They've got a good storyline. I like their head coach a little more than Penn State's head coach. And I don't know, the Notre Dame story is cool. Like, they lost to Northern Illinois, and everyone was ready to fire their coach, and Notre Dame's a joke, and here we go. And they have responded from that as good as a team can. So I guess I like that story a little more. James Franklin left my Vanderbilt. So some wounds just never heal. But that should be a fun one. Now, on Friday, maybe, because we've got a snowstorm in Dallas. Watch out. Supposed to get a half a foot, and they don't know what to do with snow down there. Ohio State, the heavy favorites to win this whole dance. How quickly we've moved on from Ryan Day not beating Michigan over the past 4 years. They are the favorites. They are playing Texas. The Texas Longhorns, who their 2 losses this year are to Georgia in a couple close games, or at least the second one was. So we'll see if there's any Texas in Texas effect. They're playing at Jerry's World. You'd like to think there's going to be more burnt orange in the crowd. I'll tell you this, Dallas is a commuter city. Is that the transplant city? That there's already a lot of Ohio folk there, and it's a fan base that travels. That I don't think we're looking at something odd here, or a team that wouldn't travel unless flights from Ohio get canceled. We'll see about that. Texas, I'm interested to see, are they going to mix anything up? They ended up letting Clemson into the game a little bit in their first game. Arizona State almost pulled out a miracle against them, and their defense, that is supposed to be their strength, continues to just have kind of these weird moments of what is going on here. Ewers' stat line ends up looking good last game. People were wondering, has he been playing hurt through the season? Because he had some moments of just bizarre kind of output on their end. And meanwhile, Ohio State, I talked about Notre Dame looking in the mirror after losing to Northern Illinois and kind of doing, what are we doing, and how it's a great bounce back story. Ohio State's looking to write an even better one. Ryan Day looking like he's on the chopping block into 4 years not beating Michigan, and this Michigan team was not a Michigan team. That if they slipped up against Tennessee in a cold weather game, if they lost to Oregon, the undefeated number 1 team that they had lost to, Ryan Day could have been in a weird spot, and I don't know if he'd be the coach of Ohio State. I think after they beat Tennessee how they did, if the Oregon game was close, he would have been fine. But a reminder, they jumped out in front of Oregon cataclysmically. It's a Joe's McFly word that I try to mix in. 34-0. I think that word works there. That Ohio State has now become the favorite. It seems like they're clicking on all cylinders. Their wide receivers cannot be stopped. Jeremiah Smith, the wideout freshman wide receiver, he's drawing comps to Julio Jones, Andre Johnson, like the best of the best wide receivers that went through college football and just ripped it up. He's on that level. They have him and Ibuka on the outside. That the secret is they've kind of been feeding those guys the ball instead of focusing on the run, and nobody can stop them, even though they have a great run game with Henderson and Howard, the quarterback, chipping in where he needs to. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of fight Texas has for them. It's a 5.5 point spread, which usually that means they're indecisive and they're trying to get you to take Texas, because Ohio State and just how good they have looked Texas might be the last line of defense. Texas, one of the favorites coming into this season, and they've shown moments of really high play between their quarterback, their running back, their defense. And can they get a Texas boost? Or even Ohio State hasn't seen something go the wrong direction in a while. They haven't seen a pick six. They haven't seen a bad fumble. Can they get something early that shows like, hey, this is an equal playing field? Because right now they are rolling. I'll be honest, it's tough to bet against Ohio State right now with how good they do look. But tune into, if you're a sports person, these are going to be 2 fun ones to tune into. And by the way, your college football bracket, which we've talked about a little bit, and we'll talk about more how we need to make some changes and adjustments. The current seeds left are 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, again, how the bracket got built in previous years, it would have been a different 1 through 4. Like a couple of these teams would have been in here. But this year, this is where we're at, and I think the product has gotten to a good spot with that Arizona State Texas game that was just electric last week. I guess we could use one more signature game. But again, we are now at the point that the playoffs started previously. So I think we're in a good spot. So, if college football is not your fancy, the NFL will have what you're looking for into the weekend. As it is wild card weekend, the NFL is rolling out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Starting Saturday, ending on Monday. Saturday, it starts off Chargers, Texans, Harbaugh. Remember Michigan? Harbaugh and the Chargers are 11-6. The turnaround happened like he does everywhere he goes. And they will head to Houston, who, a weird year for them, man. 10-7. No one else in their division finished above 500. The Colts had a very Colty year. Meanwhile, Jacksonville died, and Tennessee was bad enough to have the first pick in the draft. So, what is Houston? C.J. Stroud took a step back, and was that the league seeing him more? Was it the people having a target on them? I'm trying to see what is my best Texans win? They beat the Bills a while ago, so that's kind of an easy one. I guess since then, the Texans' best wins are the Patriots, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Dolphins, and the Titans. They lost to the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Titans, Lions, Jets, Packers. So, a year that was filled with a lot of excitement for Houston. They've been off the map since early in the season. The Chargers in Houston are 3-point favorites, and I think you could tell by the way I was talking to myself. I think I'm talking myself into that. Justin Herbert, man, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Pretty impressive what he's done. The Lad McConkey rookie season that he's put up. Yeah, I guess I was interested I thought the Texans at home in a playoff game, you think they'd be at least pick 'em or 1-point favorites. No, the Chargers -3, and I think I just talked myself into more of that. The nightcap that you hope has excitement, a 9.5-point spread makes you a little nervous, and 2 teams that make you nervous on both fronts. The Ravens, at one point my Super Bowl pick for this year, and man, could Lamar use a big playoff game to shake some of his woogas against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Pittsburgh Steelers, belle of the ball, Mike Tomlin, how did they do it? Defense and this guy. They've lost their last 4. Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. It's feeling different. It's feeling different for the Steelers, who will head to Baltimore. They played the Ravens twice this year. They won the 18-16 Boswell Bowl. 6 times 3, is that 18? Yep. They won that one. Then at the Ravens, they lost 34-17. 7 with Baltimore opening it up late in that game. Baltimore is a much better team. The Steelers, it's how can they score with the Ravens? And I don't know if they can, even on their bad day. Mark Andrews, fun stat with him, after the first 6 weeks of the year with 0 touchdowns, he ended up leading the tight end position in touchdowns. There's a lot of people that had regretful fantasy trades, including my main league I care about. Someone was very sad. No names mentioned. It's Andrew, but there's a couple Andrews, so that leaves it vague.
Including in this conversation.
Right. Mark. So, yeah, it'd be cool if you get the division and Ravens, Steelers. We're hard hitting and maybe a special teams play and Tomlin's got something up his sleeve. I'll tell you what. If the Ravens somehow lose this game, watch out. The Lamar tone is going to change bigger than you thought. He has used up all of his playoff leash. His playoff stats are pretty not good. This is kind of the year. He might be winning another MVP award. Everyone talks about now how his 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and how 3 of the 4 went off wide receivers' hands. It's a special, special year from Lamar, who I think he has like a top 5 QBR in a season ever, and that doesn't include the running. And he passed Vic this year for what he does on the ground. Should be Ravens big. Rivalry division game. Sometimes that's when the funk comes out. Should be Ravens by more than 9.5. Sometimes Vegas knows, though. So that's your Saturday slate. Sunday. Broncos, Bills. My Broncos made it to the dance. Can you believe it? The Broncos, 10-7. Bo Nix. It seems like they're getting better. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, their last game against the Chiefs shouldn't really count, although I heard Travis Kelce was getting mad about that. They're going into Buffalo. Josh Allen, who's competing with Lamar for the MVP. Buffalo, one of the tougher places to play in this league. Cook kind of figured it out with the run game this year. His final stats, over 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, a little guy that wasn't supposed to be able to find the end zone. And just spreading the ball out to every receiver. A little bit the same, except for Cortland Sutton on the Broncos. Nice year, Cortland. People were leaving him undrafted. Bo Nix, I get it. It's an 8.5-point spread. I told everyone my dream, and dream is a very dramatic word. Actually, it's kind of not. My dream bet that I've never hit that I've wanted to hit is in most games there's a bet halftime, full-time that, if you think the Bills are going to win this game, you'd pick Bills, and the odds are just slightly tougher because if you think the Bills should lead this game the whole way. There's usually tie and then the winner, which those odds are crazy. And then my dream bet, you can bet one team to be leading at half and then the other team to win. That's my dream. I would love if my Broncos could execute that dream. That Sean Payton has a plan, Bo Nix and the boys come out, and they put together a couple drives. Maybe they get the ball first, field goal at the half, and they're up 13-10, something like that. I don't think they can win this game. I will be interested to see, man, Bo Nix in some of these recent games, and the whole thing, Sean Payton said he saw Drew Brees in this guy, and they used to just complete passes. And that's what they've been doing recently. 26 for 29 against Kansas City. Okay, backups. 24 for 31 against the Bengals. 29 for 40 against the Chargers, and then it starts to thin out a little bit. I hope the old dog Sean Payton can win me over. If there is a sneaky onside kick in this game, I will be furious. But maybe that's what they'll need to actually hang with the Bills, who are playing for a Super Bowl year this year. That is your 1 p.m. game. At 4:30, Packers-Eagles. I wanted to have Justin Pennick on. I think his mom had a surgery or something. I don't know if I'm supposed to be sharing that. but he was spending time with her today, so we're hoping to have him next week. And best wishes, if that wasn't supposed to be revealed. I'm interested to see. Penix said if the Eagles draw the Packers, that's a really bad matchup for the Eagles. And there would be a sweet Philly twist if they've gone on this run. They've been incredible. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. They've become my favorite. Sirianni God again. If they lose to the Pack in Philly, that building could burn down. That being said, Philly is still my Super Bowl pick because I think they've gotten back to running the ball, and they're just so dominant at it. Saquon is crazy. 2,000 yards missing the last game. Let's see what goes on with Hurts. He's been in concussion protocol. He practiced today. Eagles 4.5. I'll bet it. They'll win by 3. I'll be mad all around. Packers, what are you? Let's find out. A lot of green. Commanders, Buccaneers, your nightcap. Okay. Baker and Jaden Daniels. Sure. Buccaneers have been fun all year. Man, I wish that Chris Godwin injury never happened. The Commanders have been fun all year. 12-5. It's in Tampa. Remember, they were going on their 3-game skid, and they had 1 game before the bye week to figure it out against the Titans. It was close. Actually, no, it was not close. They blew them out early. The Titans showed a little fight. They beat them. They won out. Titans, Saints, Eagles. Remember that one. Falcons, Cowboys. Everything's close with them. I love Jaden Daniels, and I hope we get some Jaden Daniels magic. I love Baker and Bucky, man. I'm surprised this is the Sunday night game. Feels like Packers-Eagles. Just a little more national juice. Tampa Bay is a 3-point favorite, and I think that's right. Again, there's a lot of things you could look back on this Washington season. Remember the Giants game week 2 that they should have lost, but the Giants didn't have a kicker? And there's, the Hail Mary against the Bears. Oh,
God.
Yeah, this Washington season could have felt a lot different at a couple different stops along the way. And, hey, they have some other things they can point back. The Steelers had a crazy comeback against them one week. Sit back and enjoy that breeze. What Baker has turned himself into in this second act of his career has been a ton of fun. What Jaden Daniels is doing and how electric that is a ton of fun. Bucky Irving is electric, and I hope they feed him the rock.
Seeing where his season numbers ended up.
Yeah. Bucky crushed, man, and he still was sharing time with a couple backs along the way. Not only White, but they like their other guy, 44. Nice, that's real football talk when you say their number. Enjoy it. Hopefully, if we get a Baker Jaden shootout, a couple Heisman guys, and that'll lead us into Monday. Vikings Rams. The coaches are connected. Minnesota, 1-point favorite in L.A. That's scary. L.A., let's see what's going on with that whole city in a couple days. Remember, the Vikings were playing to get the 1 seed in a bye, and now they're in L.A., and that city might be rallying around everything, and Matthew Stafford and McVay could be scary hours. And the last thing we saw from Darnold was he was having a pretty bad time out there. Let's get through the weekend, and you'll hear from us before then. Enjoy it. You guys know I've enjoyed my relationship with football. Did I watch a little NBA the other night? I did. Who was I watching? Not the Nuggets game. Who was on before them? Lakers someone. Lakers Mavs. A lot of guys missing. No Luka, no Kyrie.
Yeah.
NBA, this is kind of the whole thing. I saw NBA is doing a rivalry week coming up.
Oh.
Anything to make people believe it matters because guys aren't playing. I love it when the guys play. College basketball is in a weird spot. Everyone's pooping on them nowadays because they're saying guys don't know how to play basketball anymore. Maybe that's just on the old side of the internet I now live on with this jacket. Hey, enjoy the sports. Maybe we get the baseball breaking news. I don't know. And if not, it's okay to enjoy the football. I support that. And so does Uncle Dan.
Talkin Jake is a production of David Hatcher Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.